Okay, so the first page contains, the number one card of Phil Rizzuto of the New York Yankees. And so he is in the first position in the card set. Next comes a Red Sox player, Jackie Jensen, and then an athletics player, Marion Fricano. Bob Harper of the Cleveland Indians is next. And you'll see that this will, if we skip to the 17th card on page 3, you'll see that it's the same order: Yankee, Red Sox, Athletics, Indians. And it will continue this way until we get to the end of the set, card number 224. So the most interesting cards on the first page, of course, are the Hall of Famers, Phil Rizzuto and Nellie Fox. Jackie Jensen was an MVP one year. He wanted to, had difficulty with the flying aspect, I'm told, and so he didn't. When it came time to, fly out to the West Coast for National League teams, he was done. So Walt Drapo was a Rookie of the Year early in his career. And let's see if it says now on the back of his card, it notes that he was drafted by the Chicago Bears, but he couldn't play football and basketball. So once he signed with the Red Sox. Okay, moving on to page 2, we begin with the New York Giants, then the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Cincinnati Reds, Chicago Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals, Phillies, and Braves. And you'll notice that the first 8 cards were the 8 teams, represented the 8 teams of the American League. And then next 8 cards represent the 8 teams in the National League. So there's really a lot of structure and order to the set, more so than perhaps any other set that I'm aware of, until we get to some of the Fleer sets, particularly where all of the team cards are grouped together. So we've got some pretty good players on this second page. Also, Hall of Famer Richie Ashburn, and also one of the key pitchers on the Brooklyn Dodgers pitching staff, Carl Erskine. Carl Erskine, really interesting character. Drew at the Vision yeah, I got my tongue caught over my eye tooth. I couldn't see what I was saying. The Vintage Legend. That's not the right name. Sorry, Drew. It temporarily slipped my mind. But he had a copy of a book that Carl Erskine wrote about his relationship with Jack Robinson. And really a wonderful book. They became very good friends and remained so up until Jackie's death. Drew had established a sort of a pen pal relationship with Carl, and they have exchanged things over the years, and Carl has signed a number of things for Drew, and really pretty nice. It shows you what a great friend a great person Carl Erskine is, as well as Drew. So page 3, we come back to the American League, still the same order. Bobby Shantz, who was an MVP in 1950, I want to say 51 maybe. Vic Wertz, rookie Harvey Keene. Sam Mealy became a manager in the American League in the 60s, managed the Twins. Coming back to the National League for page 4, Billy Cox, the great Dodger third baseman, probably until Brooks Robinson came along, one of the best third basemen ever defensively. Smokey Burgess, who once held the pinch hit home run record. The Braves catcher Del Crandall. The Chicago relief pitcher Johnny Klipstein, who later played with the Phillies. Vic Raschi begins page 5, one of the stalwarts of the Yankee pitching staff. Minnie Minoso, Hall of Famer, who has one of the most gigantic gloves, I think. I think he got an extreme close-up of his glove, so it looks disproportionately large. Reminds me of the picture with Mackie Sasser much later, where his glove is an oversized glove. Coming back to the National League, there's Alvin Dark, Billy Lowe's, a member of the Dodger pitching staff. Bob Friend, who was a stalwart member of the Pirate pitching staff when they really wins were tough to come by for that team through the early mid 60s. You see Ralph Kiner down in the bottom left-hand corner, pictured with the Chicago Cubs. He had been traded by the Pirates when I believe it was I think it was Branch Rickey that he came in and said he wanted a big pay raise, and Rickey traded him to the Cubs. And when he told Kiner, he said, we lost with you and we can lose without you. That's kind of a difficult calculus, but it kind of makes sense. On the next page, we have Hall of Famer George Kell. That's kind of all for the Hall of Fame. One of Alex's favorite player, Alfonso Chico Carrasquel. I'm not sure exactly how you do pronounce that. I'm ashamed to say. Mickey McDermott had been a stalwart pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, but he had a reputation for being kind of flaky, so the Red Sox traded him to the Senators. If we get to the next page, which I believe is page 8, and there's several Hall of Famers on this page. Hoyt Wilhelm, the relief pitcher for the New York Giants. Pee Wee Reese, the Dodger captain and shortstop. Enos Slaughter, who played most of his career with the St. Louis Cardinals, but also played with the New York Yankees at the end of his career. And, of course, Eddie Matthews, one of the 500 home run club. And this was still, I guess, the first year that the that he played with Hank Aaron, so he kind of lived in the shadow of Hank Aaron for the rest of his career. Here is the card of where Ted Williams would have been had he his card continued to be a part of the 54 Bowman set, right next to Mickey Mantle. Best of my knowledge, it's the only time that Williams and Mantle would have been seen in a card set next to each other. I'll have to test that theory. But in any case, you can see that my copy of this card is below poor, so I suppose it would be graded an authentic. Somebody pasted a kind of a picture frame around it, and that's what all that discoloration is around the edges. So that's the Ted Williams card, and then you can see it replaced by the card of Jimmy Pearsall. And I'm going to turn this over and show you the back of this card. And you can see it's card number 66. Hold on to that image because later when we get to card number 210, we're going to see that picture again. Also want to show you the card that I have of Mickey Mantle in a SGC3. I got this, picked up this card because, as you could see, my copy of this card, which I've had for many years, has some paper loss here where somebody had taken a piece of Scotch tape probably and taped it to their wall. That's the sort of thing that I did when I was a kid. So I can appreciate that was done. But I wanted to have a nicer copy of it, so I sprang for the to get the better looking Mantle card. So when we come back to the and continue on the next page, we've got some really good players, but no Hall of Famers. Don Buehler with the Giants was a terrific outfielder. I believe he played in the outfield. Yes, he did. So he would have been out there probably in left field, or in right field rather, because the center fielder, of course, was Willie Mays, and Monty Irvin was the left fielder. Junior Gilliam, Jim Gilliam, James Gilliam, number 19. Not too far removed from his rookie season. He really anchored third base after Billy Cox. And I think that he is listed as a second baseman here, but he moved over to third base later in his career. Over on the right-hand side, there's Joe Nuxhall, who still to this day is the youngest person ever to appear in a Major League Baseball game, when he pitched for the Reds at the age of 15. And of course, he later went on to fame and fortune as the play-by-play and announcer for the Cincinnati Reds on radio and TV. And he closed every broadcast with his, or not his broadcast, but the after the game show with, here's the old left-hander rounding third and heading for home. Kurt Simmons, who was one of the great pitchers with the Whiz Kids, and Johnny Logan, an infielder for the Milwaukee Braves. Getting back to the American League, Jerry Coleman, who was played in the outfield some. I think he also played in the infield with the Yankees. Larry Doby with Cleveland Indians over on the right-hand side. Those are Larry Doby, of course, is in the Hall of Fame. Jerry Coleman is not. He was a broadcaster also for the San Diego Padres. Well, we get back to the Giants over there in the top left-hand corner. No difficulty in identifying Willie Mays, Hall of Famer. Also in the Hall of Fame, the man next to him, Roy Campanella. Some argue that Roy Campanella is the greatest catcher that ever played. Certainly, he and Yogi Berra would have vied for that honor during this time period, although I think nowadays probably most people would agree that Johnny Bench is probably the best catcher, both defensively and offensively. Won a couple home run titles. Robin Roberts, the great pitcher with the Phillies Whiz Kids team, and continued on his career into the 60s. He is representing the Phillies on this page, and he is a Hall of Famer. So 3 Hall of Famers on this page. On the next page, again, we have some really terrific players, but none were Hall of Famers. Gil McDougall was a Rookie of the Year for the Yankees in 1950, I believe. 49 or 50, I think 50. Might catch me on that one. Gil McDougall hit the ball that hit Herb Score. Hit a line drive right back up the middle, hit Herb in the face, broke his cheekbone, and some say he was never really quite the same pitcher after that. Next to Gil McDougall is Ellis Kinder, who is the great White Sox reliever. Had a little streak of wildness, probably some might say attributable to his habit of enjoying an adult beverage from time to time. Don Larson down there in the right or left-hand corner, you can see he's with the Orioles, and his Oriole is facing the left. That's to your right as you're looking at it, but the left side of his body. Don Larson, of course, pitched a perfect game at Game 5 of the 1956 World Series. Billy Pierce, a terrific left-handed pitcher, Chicago White Sox and San Francisco Giants, I believe. Frank Shea was kind of the pitching hero of the 1947 Yankees in that World Series. Mike Garcia, of course, was a 20-game winner with the Cleveland Indians. 1954 was one of his big seasons when the Indians finished first in the American League. And although they were heavy favorites to beat the New York Giants in the World Series, the Giants were victorious. And that's, of course, is the year of Willie Mays' great catch off the Vic Wertz line drive in Game 1 of the World Series. On the next page, we have a couple of pitching foes. Sal Magley with the Giants and Clem Labine with the Dodgers. Sal Magley was nicknamed the Barber because he liked to pitch inside and high, and it was said to give the batters a close shave. Al Schoendienst, of course, is in the Hall of Fame now, and he is a great Cardinal second baseman. He later went on to manage the Cardinals in the 60s. Roy Smalley, whose son Roy Smalley Jr. played Major League Baseball. Kind of an interesting note for him. And of course, Andy Pafko, now with the Braves, was with the Dodgers and was card number 1 in the inaugural nationwide issue for the 52 Topps set. And again, a couple of really good players on this page. Allie Reynolds, the pitcher for the New York Yankees and part of that staff that anchored 5 consecutive World Series champions. Still a record that has yet to be broken. The 1936 to 39 Yankees came close, but they won 4 in a row. And of course, there have been several teams that won 3 in a row. Most recently, the 1998 to 2000 Yankees. Before that, the Oakland A's of the early 70s. They won it in 72, 3, and 4. Cleveland Indians' luscious Luke Easter is represented over there in the top right-hand corner. Another guy could really hit the ball a long ways. Moving over to the next page, we have some, again, really terrific players, but not quite Hall of Famers. Carl Furillo, the Reading Rifle, held down the Dodger right field position for many years, all through the 50s. Gus Bell, who played with the Cincinnati Reds for many years. His son, Buddy Bell, was a player with the Texas Rangers in the 70s and on into the 80s, I think. Del Ennis, of course, was one of the keys for that 1950 Whiz Kids team. He's given as an example of how tough the fans are in Philadelphia when they said they booed Del Ennis just because he got old. The next page, we have one Hall of Famer and several really good players. The Hall of Famer, of course, is Cleveland Indians pitcher Bob Feller over there in the top right-hand side. Hank Bauer of New York Yankees was a key member of that team through the early and mid-50s. He was subbed out to the Kansas City Athletics after the infamous Copacabana fight. And Johnny Pesky, of course, the Boston Red Sox third baseman, for whom the Pesky Pole is named. We come over to the next page, and there's smiling Gil Hodges, who looks like a giant of a man in this picture. I think he was a pretty big man, but that's probably is an artifact of how close the photographer was to him compared with some of the other guys. He just looks like a very muscular fella. Then down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have Joe Garagiola, who is the guy the St. Louis Cardinals thought was going to be the next great catcher, and so they passed on hometown boy Yogi Berra, which goes to show you the the Cardinals don't always make great decisions in terms of trading folks. Pudd'nhead Jones there in for the Phillies, again part of that Whiz Kids team, and Ernie Johnson. Ernie Johnson, if you're old enough to remember the the Atlanta Braves broadcast back in the mid 70s when they first started putting every Braves game on TV at a time when most teams didn't have a lot of games on TV, and even the greater teams, the better teams, were not on every day. But the Braves were on every day, and they were brought to you by Harry Carey's son, Skip Carey, Pete Van Wieren, and this guy, Ernie Johnson. He was kind of a quiet guy, but he added a lot of color to the to a color which was already a pretty colorful group of guys. But he was usually the serious one. So Pete and Skip joked around some, and Ernie just delivered you the game. Anyway, I really liked him, and his son Ernie Johnson is now really a basketball announcer more than anything else. On the next page, we have one Hall of Famer and a couple of other guys who are pretty good players. Billy Martin in the upper right-hand corner for the Yankees. Dale Mitchell for the Cleveland Indians. And Mickey Vernon for the Washington Senators. And I've said this in other videos, Mickey Vernon won a batting title in a year that saw Al Rosen win the home run and RBI title and missed the batting title by less than half of 1/1000th of a point. So very close. And of course, Billy Martin was one of the heroes of the 1951 World Series, catching a fly ball that was in the infield, but it looked like nobody was going to catch it, and Billy made a mad dash in from deep second base position and caught it, just as he was running past the mound. So that's let me just say one thing about Dick Gernert. You might remember his 52 Topps card. It's the one with the 6 baseballs. I don't know how they're attached to his bat, but you can see him holding that bat and with the baseballs attached to it. And that was to commemorate his boast in the beginning of the season that he was going to hit 60 home runs. Well, he never quite made it that high. But he was a good home run hitter. On the next page, again, we've got some pretty good players on here. No Hall of Famers, though. Whitey Lockman was an outfielder for the Giants. And as I mentioned in another video, he's the guy that in the Game 7 of the 1962 World Series held up Matty Alou at third base with 2 outs in the bottom of top of the 9th inning with the score the Yankees ahead 1-0. So had he sent him and had he scored, that would have tied up the game. And maybe if that ball had been a hit instead of a line drive right at Bobby Richardson, might have been a 2-run scoring drive and giving the World Series championship to the San Francisco Giants. Stu Miller with the Cardinals, one of the tough pitchers back in those days. Rocky Bridges with Cincinnati was a great. He went on to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates along with Frank Thomas there next to him. Frank Thomas occasionally, or used to bill himself as the original Frank Thomas. Saw him hit a home run on the roof above the third deck in Connie Mack Stadium. There were, I think, maybe 4 balls that were hit up there ever, and he had one of them, and I was in the stands, just a kid. Don Newcomb, of course, was the great pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he was an MVP and just a great pitcher. On the next page, we have a couple of Hall of Famers. On the left there, of course, is Yogi Berra. On the right, in the top row, is Early Wynn, 300-game winner with the Cleveland Indians. Of course, Yogi Berra was the American League Most Valuable Player in 1954. They're prominently featured in the second card from the left in the top row is the Hall of Famer Duke Snider. Andy Semenuk with the Cincinnati Reds also played with the Philadelphia Phillies during that period of time. Now we come back to great Yankee pitcher Whitey Ford, Edward Ford. There in the top left. Matt Batts, catcher for the Red Sox back in the late 40s and early 50s, now pictured with the Detroit Tigers. I think you've heard me in other videos tell the story from Ted Williams' book, My Turn at Bat, where Ted hit 7 or 8 line drives in a row to left field. And Matt Batts was leaning up against the batting cage, and Ted said to him, "You see that, Batts?" I said, "I can hit the left field whenever I want to, but they don't pay me to hit the left field." On the next page, we've got several terrific pitchers. Vernon Law with the Pittsburgh Pirates, who was Rookie of the Year. Won 20 games with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1960. Lou Burdett with the Milwaukee Braves. Pictured there in a card that has some paper loss. But those things don't really trouble me. You can tell by looking at my cards that I love the cards. I don't love the grade. Got another Hall of Fame pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, Bob Lemon. His rookie card is in the 1949 Bowman set. And Bob was also a 20-game winner once or twice, maybe, at least once. You can also see down there in the Chicago White Sox uniform, Virgil Fire Trucks, who had some success coming out of the bullpen with the Yankees as well as with a couple of other teams, including the White Sox. Again, looking at some pretty good players, not necessarily Hall of Famers, but let's just run through these a little bit. Bobby Thompson, of course, we know all about his shot heard around the world when he was with the 1951 New York Giants. George Shotgun Shuba played with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Vic Janowitz won a Heisman Trophy winner and played for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 50s. Steve Bilko was a long-time long ball hitter with the Cardinals and later with the Los Angeles Angels. Stan Lapata was one of the whiz kids and fielder for the Phillies. Johnny Antonelli was a pitcher for the New York Giants. You notice that Johnny Antonelli has swapped positions with the Braves, so we now have the Braves in the upper right-hand corner. Let's see how far back that goes. Not very far back. Just remind you how that looked with the Giants, Darrell Spencer up there, and the Braves down in the corner, right-hand corner. So they just swapped places. Looks like everybody else kind of stayed the same. So that's the next guy, Gene Woodling, played for the Yankees, played in the outfield. Jimmy Pearsall with the Red Sox. You can see that it's the same picture, and I'm going to show you card number 66 here in just a minute. Same picture. These two guys right here. And on the back, everything else is going to be the same. And if you check the other, there is a different quiz question. But the fielding record, the batting record, and all of the lines representing Jim Pearsall's bio are the same. So just the number on the card and the quiz question. So there you go. So that's kind of an interesting side story for the 1954 Bowman set. Gene Woodling, of course, was a terrific outfielder. Ferris Fain, first baseman with the Cubs. Those are all better than average players for sure. And finally, we close out with the last cards in this set. Billy Bruton with the Braves. Back to his, he closes out the set. 224, card number 224. Steve Ridzik with the Phillies. One of the guys has got one of the great all-time names for a major league player, Mimo Luna. I'm sure somebody out there knows all about Mimo Luna and could teach me a few things, but I just think it's a great name. Preacher Rowe, of course, was a great pitcher for the Dodgers back in the 50s. Hank Thompson, we've already talked about his highs and lows as a Major League Baseball player. Anyway, so that's the 1954 Bowman set, and I Just think it's a great set. I love the Mickey Mantle set. I fell in love with that card when I first saw one, probably now is almost 40 years ago. And of course, it now looks a lot better in my collection because I upgraded that card. So, in any case, this is Rocket Rick J18, wishing that all your collecting dreams come true.